Just want to do a quick overview of the Icon site software. Now we basically got to show you how to create control points running off a network. I thought we'd dive into a little more what you can do on site after it's been site's been cleared and you're ready to go to work. Like we said when we were out there, applications, this is where we're doing all of our work. Data, this is where we're handling all of our job files, creating projects, importing, exporting data, creating reports. Settings, changing things from meters to feet, getting connected to the ConX server, and just basic device profile settings. We can go in and set up for using a rover pole. We can have a profile set for, we can have one called side by side that already has the measurements in it, width of the vehicle, things like that. Jump right into it. So we're going to go into Stakeout here. Basically, the way this works, anything on the screen is stakeable. So if we have a CAD file loaded with 3D Linework, so any DXF with 3D Linework, we can zoom in. Up here, it's always prompting me, what do I want to do? I want to select element to stake out. So say I wanted to go in here and stake my back of curb. I just go in and tap on the back of curb. And now it is guiding me. The line's live all the way around, so long as all the line work's joined up and elevated. So now anywhere I walk around on site, it's giving me my cut and fill up here, telling me how far down from the beginning of the line I am, how far I'm off the line as far as my offset. So I can just walk that line until I'm dead on it if I wanted to just stake out where it was dead on it. More than likely you want to do an offset for your curb machine, so I could go in here and select my offset and then say, hey, I want to do a 4 foot behind the back of curb. Green check. Shows you where it's going to be. If it was out in the road, you just have this flop button and it puts it on the correct side. So now when I hit the green check here, I can also offset the elevation as well. But we're going to top back of curb, so I'm going to green check. So now it's telling me how to get to my 4 foot back of curb. So as I get closer and closer, it's going to tell me when I'm dead on the money. It's giving me a left and right guideline up here. I get my green check. I know I'm pretty much within the tolerance I have set. And then I can put in my stake in the ground and put my cut on it. This isn't just for this small section right here. This is a line representing the angle that we're calculating the offset distance to. So that moves with me around the job. So when I get down to turning sections, I can see where it starts to turn. And it flops to the other side. That tight a radius, it flops really quick. There we go. So you can see how it's being calculated. So that's just one of the tools there. If I needed to stake this at intervals, which you would probably do, I could go into my toolbox and do divide and offset. So now it's telling me from my starting point to my end point, this section is 437 foot long. Say I want to put in a stake every 50 feet. I can hit my green check. So now it's put a stake on the line at 50 feet, but I want to offset it. So now that I've put in my interval, actually I'm going to change that to 25 feet. It's such a short run. And then I want to offset all those stakes 4 feet. And now I have my 25 foot interval stakes. I can create a stakeout list. This would make it where you can check them off as you go, so you know you don't miss a stake. You don't have to, so we can just ignore that. I forgot to change my layer name, so it's labeling them all what I labeled my storm here for the demo. But now I have all these stakes I can go to. I can click on them, and it's telling me if I'm outside of 5 foot, it's telling me how to get to it. And then the closer I get, it comes up with a bullseye on the screen, guiding me into the point. Once I'm dead on, it'll tell me in, out, and left and right until I get dead on it, and then my cut to that top back of curb stake. Since it didn't put it at the PT and the PCs, I can go in and do show points. And anywhere there's a node on the line work, that will turn into a stakeable point, and I can also offset those points the same way. So I can create them right in the field. But that's a pretty cool feature. Any node on the line work, it uses the 3D line work to generate it. Anywhere there's a bend in the line work, it's going to create a point you can stake to, building corners and such. So I'm going to go back in here. This is my layers menu, and turn show points off. Now I'm back to my normal working screen. And let's say all I am doing is curb. I don't want to see all these other lines on the screen. So I can go into my layers, my drop down for my DXF, turn off all my layers except for my curb. And now all I'm working with is my everything that's on the curb layer. So real quick and easy to isolate layers and bring them back. Bring them back, and now we're back to everything on the job. That's what you use 90% of the time. There's a ton of other tools in here, going in and editing your points, creating lines. If you want to just stake to an elevation, just to transfer elevation, you can do that. So some pretty cool features there. So now just kind of show you a little more in the cut fill app, the other one everybody seems to use all the time. So now I'm using the surface model and walking around on site. So just like any other one working off a terrain model, anywhere I go on the job, it's giving me a cut and fill to my finish grade or whatever your model's made to subgrade. And up here, it's giving me my cut and fill, showing my current offset value. So if I go into my toolbox and say I want to enter in an offset, I can enter it in inches or tenths. So if I don't want to try to remember my conversions or flip a ruler, say I can't remember what 8 inches is, I can type in 8 inches negative going down, and it's converted it for me up here. So anywhere I walk around, it's giving me subgrade. Also another thing, so you stick your stake up on, or you stick your pole up on top of the stake, and you read your cut fill value. So you don't have to remember that value while you're when you put it back down on the ground. You can hit freeze, and now my values up here do not change no matter where I go on the job. So I can just set my pole to the side, write my description on the stake, BOC, cut, and then look back on my screen, and it still showed me the value I had while it was on top of the stake. And then when I'm ready to go back to my next stake, I can just unfreeze it, and now I'm showing where I'm standing now. Back to real-time live view. If I want to take my offset back out, I just go to offset 0, and now I'm back to finished floor. There's some other cool things in here. Of course, you can do the auto logging, where you can go in and say, hey, I want it to take a shot for me by horizontal distance and elevation. So say I have this on a side-by-side, really handy with the tilt rover, because on a side-by-side you're having to get off and take shots manually on slopes, especially steep slopes, just because it's not calculating a correct elevation with the vehicle tilted over. With the tilt rover, it is calculating the correct elevation. So I can go in and say I want to take a shot every time I move 10 feet horizontally, or if I see 1 foot elevation change. So if either of these things happen, it will take that shot as I go around. So all I have to do is hit start. I'm going to do this off to the side so don't get too much of the screen cluttered up. I'll do start, and as I move, it's going to take the shots for me. Also, you notice that, let me change my elevation here. It gives blue if it's in a fill, red if it's in a cut, green if it's in an on-grade area. So it makes sort of a cut fill color map. So I'm going to go in and go to my auto logging, turn that off. and we can go into vehicle settings. If we have the vehicle app enabled, I can go to pole. I can change it to a vehicle, dozer, scraper, tractor, but I can put on, say, vehicle. I can give it the height for my side-by-side or four-wheeler or whatever I'm using. I can also say where on the side-by-side it's at, measure the width of the side-by-side, so I can say, hey, if I want to know if I'm based off of my right tire when I'm 4 foot behind the back of curb, just putting in pin flags to show them kind of where to box it out at. I can actually select the right side of the machine or left side of the machine, and ride down the line and have it give you that information. Also show you a truck on here, or dozer, or whatever you select. Also, while you're in vehicle mode and you're riding around, if you want to see, make sure you're riding on the correct slope, we can go into split screen, split it into two views, and say I want a cross section on this side, and I change the elevation so I'm not in so much of a cut. So now over here in this ditch, I can see where my bottom is as I'm riding around, and it shows my cross section view as I ride up and down this drive here, so I can see where my tops and bottoms are. See, there's where I hopped over the curb there as I'm riding. So that's a pretty neat little feature. Another thing we can do, we can turn off cross section if you're just riding around. And oops. Sometimes the simulator gets a little funky. So we'll do split screen, single view, turn off my cross section. You don't have to do that in the real version, but in the simulator it makes me do weird things. Do cut and fill, so I can just get a nice big mass cut fill view while I'm riding around on my vehicle. And I'm zooming so far out, I'm going really fast here. So as I'm riding around, it's giving me my cut fill and a nice big view over here. I want to turn my split screen back off and turn my cut fill view back off. Now I can, it's a new feature they just added. I can go in and say generate cut fill grid and show cut fill grid. And apparently they haven't got that set in the simulator where it works, but basically what it will do is from the width of the vehicle, as you ride around, it'll create a cut fill color map, not like these dots, but actually shading as you ride around. And then it'll automatically update as you ride back over an area after it's been graded to show you that it's now on grade. So if it was cut before, it'll reshade it green as you re-ride it. So you can see your site develop and save those different shadings over time. So that's a new feature they've just added. You also have stake elevation and enter forward profile view. So if you want to see the forward profile going up and down slopes, you can see it. Some other things. This is a big one. So if right now, if you're getting on a side-by-side or four-wheeler and riding your sites, and you're sending your data off for your volume calculations, instead, you can go in here into volumes, and up here it's saying, do you want to select or edit a surface or calculate volume from the toolbox? We want to create a new surface, and we can have it auto log it, or we can walk around, hit and measure. I'm going to switch it back to a pole. Say we were just walking it. So I'm walking around measuring the site, and I'm just going to pretend like I measured the whole site. And we'll just say this whole thing, I just ran a grid of this whole job, and I'll say I want to end the surface, call it the existing topo. Alright, so it's created a surface right here. So I can select that existing topo surface. Say I want to calculate volumes. So is this a stockpile you want to calculate? You want to compare it to a flat elevation or to a point, which is the same as flat elevation. It just pulls the elevation from the point, or surface to surface. Comparing it to your finished grade model, that's going to be surface to surface. So now it's saying select the reference surface, which is our proposed surface. Green check. And it'll give you amount in cut in that area, amount in fill in that area. It'll also generate a cut fill color map. It'll tell you how much of the site was actually covered. So area in the site, it was only a little under 700 square feet. Also, if we needed to balance this site, we could offset the reference surface up or down until we receive same cut as fill, so we don't have any import or export. And we can green check, save our volume as EX topo volume. And then if we want to send that off to our customer, we can go into our reports. So I want to do, you can put all your company information in here. Go to volumes. So I want to do it from the EX topo volume job. Do a sample of 5 points I shot, or you can have it list every point with every accuracy of every shot you took, so they know you did a quality job. You can send it to the ConX server, USB stick, or just leave it on the internal memory. Send it out as a PDF, HTML. That way anybody can view it. Green check. Then we'll have your company name. You can have the project and all named on here. Time and date you did it, accuracy of the shots you took, and then it'll show. I don't have the shading turned on, so it's not showing the color map, but it will show a cut fill color map. It would just show a red square right there because it's such a small area and not a real surface. But and then showing all your calculated results. In the past screen I was just on, you can change your swell factor. So if you know there's some fluff, or you're going to lose some in compaction, you can adjust it there if you want to bump it up 1.15 or something. So then this is just a preview of it. We'll green check it, and it's created the report and saved it wherever you designated it to. Sketching. This is another really cool tool. So what we can do is we can go in and basically draw anything. I use it a lot, especially when I'm doing curb staking. So say right here I want to know what the radius point was in this area. So I'll go into my layers, turn off all my layers except for my curve, since that's what I want to work with. Turn on the points from the CAD drawing, and tell it I want to create an arc. And it says, select points for arc. I can pick any 3 points along this this arc here, radius. All right, and it actually happens to be in the same. Let's see here, do store radius point. So there's where my radius point is going to be. It's telling me it's a 5-foot radius. So now I know it's a 5-foot radius, so I can hit green check, and now I have a 5-foot radius point to stake out. If I want to be able to see that it's a 5-foot radius on the screen, I can go in and go back to my lines feature and just do connect points. Select any point on the arc and my radius point, and it'll draw the dimension on the screen for you, so you see that that is a 5-foot radius, and give you a line to show you which radius this is applying to, so it'll give you a direction to it. Ton of other features in here. I could go in and do a start point, and I can basically go in here and draw something out. So say if there was it's a brand new job and I only got 2 points for the pad, which I know you guys usually don't have, but I could go ahead and say, all right, I want to draw out my pad. It's 100 foot long. say it's a 100 square building pad, and stake all that out if I have my 2 first points to align to. A lot of cool features in here. Correct control points on the fly. It's another thing when you're in Measure doing as-builts. So I'm doing in my network settings, and I've gone out and I'm fixed position on network. I want to create a new control point. I want to change my code to toolbox, create a new code. We'll call this control, and we'll leave it on default symbol because it's going to create a triangle. So we're going to tell it it's a control point, and I'll measure that point. I'll just go around and set my control in. So you can come back and localize it with your base and rover. So now it's showing that those are control points, and I can export those out. Nice thing about when you label it control, all your other field data doesn't get sent out with that file. So I can, if I go into my list, it creates another separate file just for the control points. So all my other stored points aren't jumbled in with them. So that's all I have in that list that I can then export out to another field controller or what have you on the site. Some other things, you can go up here and change your measure mode. So on these control points, say I want to do an average by time or by a number of measurements or manual, I can put it on manual, and then average the point, and it'll sit up here and it'll just take shot after shot after shot until I hit stop. So if I have really open conditions, I see I only need maybe 10 seconds, I can hit stop. If I'm in a place that has a lot of obstructions, I know I'm having trouble with the position, might want to let it sit there for 10 minutes or so just to throw out all that bad data and get me down to a really nice control point. After you stop, it'll tell you, hey, you've taken, the reason it says 25 seconds, 514 measurements, that's because the update rate's so high, we're really taking 20 shots a second. And then it averages them and then stores the average as that control point. So same thing, measuring arcs, auto logging, like riding around on a vehicle's under measure as well. If I go back into my DXF file, turn on all my line work, turn off show points. Another thing is if you want to show somebody on the site, what this is doing, they're not used to looking at contour lines. They just don't have a good 3D view when they're looking at paper plans. I can go into my rotate, and actually I got some stuff down at 0 because I didn't draw it, but I can go in and look at the job from basically any angle and show them, hey, this is going uphill, this is going downhill, and show them what's going on here. So everything's really visual, instant, not many clicks to get from one place to the next. Just think that's kind of our main advantage. It's more like running a phone than running a survey suite in a set of software, or even some of the others, field software. Battery and memory, I can go in here and it'll show how many hours I have left on my battery inside my head. So instead of just seeing a battery bar you see you got 1 bar left, you're saying, well, how much is 1 bar? I can go in here and say, hey, I got 20 minutes left. I can get these last shots in instead of just hoping for the best and having to run across the job, grab another battery. Also see my radio link. If I'm connected to the network, it'll show my modem so I can see all my values. Hey, I'm getting good corrections from my base. It'll tell me my distance to the base I'm working off of. But that's just kind of an overview from the top. On the one I really want to show is Leica ConX. So let's say Blunt. Kind of show you what their page. This is what your guys' site would look like. When you log in, this is what you would see. You would select the project you're on, and it would show your, let me go to the project that has all their units in it. So if they had any of them connected to the internet, it would show that they were connected. I would then be able to click on that unit. If they were connected, there would be a little eyeball up here I could click on, view anything, and push any button that they're pushing like they're in the field. They just do the walking around and pounding the stakes, so you can really take care of them from your office or your phone. It's a website you log into, so you don't have to install software on every device you want to do it. You just use your login. As a company, you can have as many logins as you want with just one ConX license. And the ConX license is only, I believe it's $240 a year. So it's really $240 or $340 a year, but it's really cheap compared to the others. I know a lot of the competition have similar software. I don't think it's as robust, and I know it's way more expensive, so most people don't utilize it. This is priced at a price point where it's heavily utilized. Almost all of our customers use it. You can also see where your equipment's at when it's fired up. There's places you can go in if they have the logging turned on, where if you have a SIM card in it, it'll always report back, and you can actually see the paths they've taken. I think I made one for you guys actually. Let's see. When I was out at your site. Yeah, it shows when we were out there 8 days ago, what days it was utilized. And this is where we were on another job. I can go in and click on the day it was used last, if it had the location history turned on. But it would show like if we must not have had it cut on out there, but it would show like it did on this job, showing the path they took and what they done, start time, end time, and show where they're at on the map. Another thing, they can go in and say you have new job files come out. We can go into sync. We can upload a file or download a file straight from the tablet. So when I upload a file, it'll tell me to choose the file and just pick it off my computer, select the unit I want to send it to, and then select that it is a field crew. It's not a dozer or something. When I hit upload, it'll pop a prompt up on their screen. Hey, a new file has been added to the project. Would you like to download now? And it'll give you that download option right there on the tablet while they're in the field working. So you don't have to call them and tell them. They just see it immediately, and they can go ahead and bring it in. Shoot them a text. They're good to go if you want to go ahead and start using it. Visualization, we can go in and you can have your DXF file, your surface file loaded in. You'll actually see the surface and the DXF. I won't show it here because we don't have any data loaded, but if we did, it would show the DXF on top of a Google Earth image. If you have our drone solution, we can have our drone images loaded in the background, so you have the actual image of the site now, not an old Google Earth image, with the Linework overlaid and all your shots overlaid, surface overlaid, and see the job progress as it goes. Also calculate productivity, give an area a working range, and calculate how often the equipment's being used in a certain area. Earth mover apps, where we can add to your pieces of earth moving equipment for cycle times. Calculating loads going across the site to make sure we're being as efficient as we can with our dirt moving. Anyway, I appreciate you watching this, and if you have any questions, please give me a call. Really love to have your business, and thank you again for the opportunity.